Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living St. George. This is our first ever live broadcast of our service in this format with just a few people here with me. Today with me is our wonderful musician, Cheryl Barlow. Grace Barlow is on our sound. Chris McCardle is running the video, and Anita Chef is here holding the high watch and keeping us all in that consciousness of the divine. So I want to welcome you all here to this service. We are so excited to know that you are out there watching and participating in your own way as we bring you this time together. This is a new experience for us, so we may have some hesitation here, but I know that it's going to unfold beautifully and easily under the grace of God. So we're going to start right now with an invocation. Cheryl's going to lead us in with some music, and then I'll do the invocation, and then we'll follow up a little bit more music. Are you ready?
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrow like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.
And so we just allow ourselves to drop into that knowing that truly it is all well with our souls. For our souls, we rely on that power and that presence, that one divine creative energy that has brought us all into existence, that has given us this day, that is the guiding and directing force of our lives. I just drop into that knowing, into that peace that comes from understanding the truth and feeling the action and the activity of the divine within my soul. And how good it is to come together through this medium we call technology, to come together and hold that high truth, that high consciousness of the current situation that we are dealing with right here and right now. Knowing that there is no other power and presence than God, that nothing exists outside of this one, that nothing was created by anything but God, that God is the divine and directing force of all life. All life. And so I know that our lives are unfolding perfectly right here and right now. That we face the challenges that we are dealing with right here and right now with grace, with compassion, with understanding, with a high and holy consciousness. And I'm so grateful for each person that's here today and each person that is joining us online, knowing that we are all divine vessels for that bearer of consciousness, for that truth that is unfolding right here, right now. And so I just give thanks for this. And I allow our time together to unfold. Knowing it does so perfectly, I let it be. And so it is. So it is.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrow like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It
How beautiful. Thank you, Cheryl. I was on the ministers' listserv this week, and one of the ministers posted, does anybody have the notes from the class, What to Do When a Pandemic Strikes, that we took in ministerial school? Which, of course, we did not take in ministerial school. So this is an unusual situation that we're faced with today and in our world. In my lifetime, in my experience, I've never faced anything quite like this. We had 9/11, which caused a great deal of shutdown in our country for about a week. But to have things seeming to take a much longer period of time is an unusual situation. I was searching back through my memory to try to see if there was anything else that came close to this, and I remembered as a child, from 1 to 3, I lived in Panama, and that happened to be during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and so I was 1 year old, and my mother and my 4-year-old brother were isolated in the base movie theater for a week and a half while the Cuban Missile Crisis de-escalated. And so that was the only thing I could think of, and again, you know, I was a year old. I don't really have any conscious memory of that. So this is an unusual situation that we're faced with here. And what I know more than anything else is that when I go back to spiritual truth, when I go back to the principles and the practices that we teach here at Science of Mind, no matter what condition I'm dealing with in my life at the moment, it gets resolved. And it gets resolved for the highest and greatest for me. And so if it's getting resolved for the highest and greatest for me, I know it's the highest and greatest for everyone else involved in that. And so looking at my spiritual truths and my practices that I do has really allowed me to move through challenges a great deal more easily than I used to. And so I wanted to talk a little bit today about how we can take a look at this challenge that we're facing and what principles, what practices, what spiritual truths do we know that are going to be applying to this situation, and how we can actually use that in a practical and realistic way. As I was preparing, I kept thinking about every time anybody writes any email to me or anything like that, most of the time they're ending with, and don't forget to wash your hands. So you see it on the memes, you see it on Facebook, and you know, all this stuff, and wash your hands. And so I thought about that, and you know, washing our hands is a physical thing we can do, but there are other things that we have in our lives that need to be washed up. And so I wanted to look at that today, about washing up, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and cleaning out anything that's hiding there that is stopping us from knowing the truth and having a different experience of this pandemic that we are facing right now. And so what can we do physically? What can we do physically to help us safeguard ourselves from this? And so physically, again, washing our hands is one thing. I just recently read that that we should keep distance of more than 6 feet instead of 3 feet, which is what was coming out first. And I thought, well, that's not a bad idea, because again, apparently this virus is comes in droplets. So if somebody's sneezing, coughing, then the droplets that come out of that are expelled from their body are where the contagion is at. And so if you're 6 feet away, more than likely it's not going to hit you unless they're, you know, supercharged sneeze that's going on right there. So that's a couple of things we can do. We can limit our exposure to other people. This is what the government is recommending right now, the CDC, the World Health Organization. Every one of them are saying, you know, stay at home, self-quarantine yourself. If at all possible, do that. I know that many of our churches have canceled services today, just like this, and are doing it online. There's a few that are doing services in person today, but then for the next 2 weeks, we'll be doing online services. I know that this is not just limited to the Centers for Spiritual Living, that is happening nationwide at all of the churches. There are offices that are going on minimum skeleton crews, and to allow people to stay at home and work from home. Fortunately, our technology is advanced enough that we can do that. Imagine what would have happened back in the 50s or the 60s when something like this happened. So those are a couple of things that we can do to actually physically wash up, clean up ourselves. And so what can we do mentally? You know, the biggest part for me in this whole situation is not this virus, but it's the fear that's been generated by it. The fear of lack, that there's not going to be enough resources for me, which, you know, the appearance of that right now is that there isn't, because stores we're not expecting this. And so they don't have the merchandise on hand. They can only hold so much merchandise in their storerooms. And so this is seeming to be a problem right now. I personally think it's going to balance itself out in the next week, and where we will not be facing shortages of things that we are in need of. It's an opportunity for us to look at the areas that we have fear, to look at the areas in our lives that we're afraid of things. Are we afraid of being around other people simply because of who they are? Are we afraid of being around people because it's a smart thing to not be in proximity of people right now? But is there a fear driving that? I know that across our country, unfortunately, there's been an escalation of violence against people of Asian descent. That's fear-driven. These people that are living in our country have not been in China, where it has been more active. They've not been in the Asian countries where the virus seems to have started. And to call this a foreign virus, or a virus that's caused by a certain group of people, is just plain ignorance. And so we need to look at how we're thinking about that. Are we judging people just because of where they come from? Or, you know, is it a reality here? And, you know, for me, this idea that people of a certain descent are the cause of anything is just, well, it's prejudicial, it's limiting, it's fear-driven, and quite ignorant, actually. And so to begin to look at how are we thinking about things? How are we dealing with people around us? And so that's one of the other things that we can do. One of my favorite practices, though, is what we use here in Centers for Spiritual Living is affirmative statements of truth. Now, this is a very mental practice, but it has a deep and spiritual effect within us. And one of the things that I really love is our music that we have here in New Thought. We have amazing artists, as you just heard with Cheryl here. We have fabulous musicians and songwriters that have brought to us these little gems of affirmations that we can use. One of my favorite ones to think about at this time is from Ricky Byers Beckwith, and it's the breath of God is breathing me, and resting in the breath of God, I know that all is well. And then it goes on, the love of God is love in me, and resting in the love of God, I know that all is well. And the peace of God is peace within me, and resting in the peace of God, I know that all is well. And as I say these things, I just get that feeling within myself of, okay, it is well with my soul right now. There are lots of different affirmations that we can use to bring about a shift, just an instantaneous shift in a fear that we might be driving us right now at that moment. Another one of my favorite ones, which you've heard me talk about often, is loving kindness. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease, and may I be happy. If I'm in a situation where there are people around and it seems to be stressful and tense, may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease, and may you be happy. And when I think about my world, what's happening here in this world around us, and I say that affirmative statement of the truth, may we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease, and may we be happy. And then just simply affirming that for myself. I am filled with loving kindness. I am well. I am peaceful and at ease, and I am happy. That song was written by Karen Drucker, based on a Buddhist practice called the Metta Meditation, Metta Sutra, which is the loving kindness. Last night, Karen Drucker sent out every single bit of her music to all the ministers in Centers for Spiritual Living. Music, the charts, and told us we could use it freely. in any way that we want to use it to help people get through this crisis. I mean, what a generous and loving offer to do something like that. So finding these little mantras that begin to remind us of spiritual truth. So what I've done lately is incorporating that into my 20-second hand wash. So instead of doing that, I just sing one of these songs in my head as I'm washing my hands. Pretty much all of them are going to take me at least 20 seconds. Sometimes my hands are getting a little chapped because I kind of enjoy that, singing as I'm washing my hands. So, take that mental thing, that mental activity of affirmations, and apply it to your physical activity of washing your hands and see what happens. And it's actually going to help clear out any kind of fear that we have in our lives. So begin to really work with that. So what can we do emotionally? So emotionally, well, again, a lot of our emotions center around fear right now. Worry, doubt, anxiety. I was listening to I just lost the word. Podcast, there we go. A podcast last night from a therapist in California, a marriage and family therapist out of Northern California. And she was saying that one of the best things we can do is to practice acceptance of the feelings that we're having right now. Because they are generated by the collective consciousness that's going around us, by the things that we see and experience. I mean, you drive up near Costco and you see lines coming out of the parking lot just to get into the parking lot, and let alone find a parking space or to get into the store. And it kind of produces some anxiety within us. It's like, well, maybe I should be reacting to this. Maybe I should be going out and getting more supplies. And so that creates that high state of emotional anxiety that's within us. And so to begin to just say, oh, I'm experiencing anxiety about this right now. Okay. And just breathe into that and allow that anxiety to just dissipate within us, because we're accepting of it and not trying to fight it and push it away. One of our sayings in Science of Mind is, what you resist persists. And so if we're feeling that extra added emotion because now we're experiencing some emotion we really don't want to experience, that's just going to perpetuate it. And so begin to looking at our emotions, being very accepting of where we're at right now. And as we're dealing with this high level of tension and anxiety, and our interactions with other people may be a little more tense too. And so just again, to begin to be more accepting towards ourselves. Go back to that loving kindness. I am filled with loving kindness right now. I am well, I am peaceful and at ease, and I am happy. Begin to dissipate some of those things by using a spiritual truth in there, and accept ourselves for where we're at right now. I'm sure I'm not the only one who finds this to be an unprecedented experience in our lives. And so, use that as an emotional tool. And so what can we do spiritually? Well, one of the people that I study is Joel Goldsmith, and he has what he calls our world work. And our world work is to be in the midst of any situation and know truth. To begin to find that spiritual truth. When he's talking about this, he tells a story of a family that lived in London during World War II. And they were students studying his work at that time. And they weren't praying for the bombs to stop dropping. They weren't trying to figure out a way to make this happen. They were simply sitting in their homes knowing truth. Knowing truth like there is no power other than God. That there is an action and activity of the divine that is happening all of the time. That there is only this amazing power of love that is happening. By knowing these spiritual truths, we keep ourselves what we call practicing the presence. We are constantly knowing the spiritual presence is in us and as us and moving through us in all of our affairs and everything that we encounter. And so doing that is what Joel calls his world work. And so he's talking about this couple that, like I said, they were living in downtown London, And during World War II, the bombs were dropping all over London. And in the particular neighborhood that they were in, it seemed to be a lot of bombing attacks were targeted right there. And every one of the houses around them, at some point or another, was hit by a bomb. And their house was absolutely perfect. It was never touched by any of these bombs. And he attributes that to them doing their world work, knowing spiritual truth in no matter what situation they were faced with. And so I think as we begin to do that spiritual work of, okay, what truth can I apply to this situation right now? So what kind of truths can we apply to this situation of this coronavirus? Well, as I've already said, there is no other power than God. You know, it reminds me of the story from the Bible of Jesus when he's brought before Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate says something along the lines of, I'm here to judge you. And Jesus' response to him is, thou could have no power over me unless it was given to thee by God. So applying that, thou could have no power over me unless it was given to thee by God. And God is not going to give thee any power that's going to destroy me. And so there can be no other power in this virus. Sometimes that can sound like I want to say a word that I shouldn't say online, but religious science BS. It can sound like that. It's like, wait a minute, there's this thing out here and I can see it happening and I can see the effects and I know that I have people that I know that it's being affected by it. So what are you telling me that there's no other power? But keeping ourselves centered in that idea that there is nothing else operating here but God truly does make a difference in our lives. It does make a difference in the effect that we experience in anything that's happening. And so reminding ourselves of that truth is key. God made everything that was made, and everything that God made was good. God made everything that was made, and everything that God made was good. And so we have this coronavirus. It has to come from that same creative power that's making everything. And if it did, it's good. It is absolutely good. We're not able to see the good in it yet, but something will come from it that's really good. I can see a few things right now. I was just invited the other day to join a Facebook group called Southern Utah Contagion Support Group. Quarantine Support Group. Southern Utah Quarantine Support Group. It is absolutely so inspiring to get on there and read the posts that are happening. One person says, I'm almost out of diapers. Another one says, I've got some extra packs my child just grew out of. Let me send them over to you. And they drive them over to them and leave them at their doorstep so that we're keeping our safe distance. I mean, it's just amazing things happening constantly. These people are now reaching out to their neighbors because of this. I think that's one of the most powerful things that good, if we can call it good, of anything that's coming out of this thing, is that we're actually starting to check in with each other. There was a post recently about treating this quarantine as if it's a Sabbath, as in the Jewish tradition, of having a day where we disconnect from technology, we disconnect from motor vehicles, we disconnect from shopping, we disconnect from working. We actually take that time to rest and refresh our souls. That's a good that's coming out of this. And so there are things out there to look for, and if we keep our attitudes centered on this idea of good constantly happening within our lives, I think we're going to have a much different experience of that. So we have here at the Center for Spiritual Living St. George, we have fabulous practitioners. They are ready here to pray for you. They're here to pray with you if you want that, or they'll just hold the high consciousness for you. I've set up an email address. It's prayer@cslstgeorge.org. We'll put that in the Facebook comments below. We also have our phone number, which is 435-287-8384. You can call and leave a message there. If you want to have someone call you back, just state so in the message, and I'll have one of our practitioners return the call for you. There are ways that you can keep yourselves connected to our community at all times. It's a powerful force. Ask for prayer. One of my favorite ministers who many of you have met, my beloved friend Reverend Colleen, said in a service once, if I take one step towards God, God takes 1,000 steps towards me. And asking for prayer is that step. Ask for prayer. If you are in a situation and there's some anxiety and fear and worry going on within you, please reach out, ask for prayer. That's what we're here for. And I know without any doubt that prayer works. In fact, the fact simply asking for prayer works. It releases my anxiety when I surrender and say, I can't fix this by myself, but I know somebody who can help me with it. And I reach out and I ask for prayer. So please take advantage of that as we move through this time together. So one of the things that we're planning to come back again on April 5th at this point, unless something else situation occurs. We will keep you posted through Facebook and through our Constant Contact e-blast that many of you are on the email list. If you're not on our email list and did not receive the e-blast about today's service, then go to our website, which is www.cslsg.org, and there's a button on there to click to receive our newsletter, and all of our updated information will come through that, as well as being posted on our website and on our Facebook page. So you can we'll keep in touch with people that way. Reach out to your neighbors. Check on your friends and family. See if there's any way that you can be of service to people. I find in my life that being of service is one of the greatest ways to get out of any kind of emotional turmoil that I'm experiencing. If I find some way that I can reach out and help somebody else. So make the phone calls. Write the letters. Go on Facebook. Connect with people that way. We have so many different ways in our world today that we can actually stay in touch with people. And so I encourage you to do that, to make that effort, to not isolate yourself during this time of isolation, to allow yourself to be connected to the people that you cherish most in your life. One of the things that, because we're going to be down for a couple of weeks and only broadcasting live like this, not in person, we would still appreciate any tithes and offerings that you are wanting to share with us. And so we have our text to give number, it's on the screen back here behind me, as well as our website for doing online donations. There's a button on our website. There's also a button on every Constant Contact e-blast that you get. And I don't know, Cheryl, is there one on Facebook? There's not a, I don't think so.
But we can put one.
We'll put one on there. I know it's on the emails, the messages that I posted on Facebook for the last 2 days. The link is there. And of course, we could always appreciate money sent in the mail too. We still need to keep our building going and so forth during this time. So as you move to, please think about contributing to our center here this way. So we're gonna end this now with a little prayer, and then Cheryl's gonna sing a song, and then we will call this good. All right. And so once again, I just take this moment to become still. And I drop into that place I call my heart center. Place deep in my chest where I feel that conscious contact with Spirit. That Spirit that is moving through me. That Spirit that is manifesting as me. That Spirit that is the driving force of my life. And I know that it is not only within me, it is around me. It is the air that I breathe. It is the face of everyone I see. It is the love that I feel. For I know that nothing exists outside of this one. It is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. And I know that that very same presence is in each one. Each one here. Each one who is watching this video. Each one who is in any way consciously connected to Source. Spirit is moving through each and every one of us at the level of our awareness. And so I know that we are constantly and continuously connected to that one source. No matter what the situation is, no matter what emotions we're experiencing, no matter what thoughts move through our minds, that we are always united with that one. This perfect unity, this perfect harmony, this perfect life. For there is only one life, and that life is God, and that life is perfect, and that life is my life right now, and that life is your life right now. And in this attitude of oneness, I know that anxieties are eased, that fears dissipate, that life returns to the balance and the harmony that it was before this situation occurred. And I know that no matter what trials and tribulations we face in the upcoming weeks, the presence of the divine goes before us and prepares the way, makes the crooked places straight, and remains behind us as a blessing and a benediction to all who come near. I know this truth. I feel this truth. I embody this truth, and I live this truth in all that I am and all that I do. And I give great thanks for knowing this, for feeling that power and presence, for seeing it operating in my life and the lives of everyone else. I'm so grateful to know that we have these amazing principles and practices that cement our faith, allowing us to live a more peaceful and harmonious life. And so I just simply release this word into the law, to that divine power and presence that always says yes, that knows only good, that is the one power, the one presence, and the one life of all. I release it, I let it go, and I let it be. And so it is. Amen.
Welcome each day. I trust the divine. Choose which path to take, which thoughts to align, to find peace so sweet, the truth of my soul. It's all that I need. I have faith and know, to find peace so sweet, the truth of my soul. It's all that I need. I have faith to know. I lead with my heart. I breathe and expand and make room for God to better my plans, the good I desire, away to the flow, each moment a gift. I have faith and know the good I desire, away to the flow, each moment a gift. I have faith and know.
Beautiful. So, next week we'll be on live again on Facebook and on YouTube. You can go to our YouTube channel or to our Facebook page and find the links for this service that we'll be giving tomorrow, next Sunday and the following Sunday. So on the 22nd and the 29th, there will be no in-person service, but there will be a recorded service for you to participate in with us. I hope you have a fabulous and wonderful week. I know that You are in my hearts and in my mind, and I hold you in the highest consciousness at all times. I love you dearly. Good night. Goodbye.